went just a little longer.
Yeah, I know. So wait till you see it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I'm trying to get up on YouTube, and I think I just did. There we go.
Are you going to take back co-hosting?
I can. Um, well, I am hosting, so I did not do that. So, uh,
Okay, because it came up that I'm still co-hosting.
yeah, you are still co-hosting.
It says Collins note takers admit.
I am removing
Okay,
because he can get it from where everybody else does.
All right, Blair, we ready?
Okay. We are live, and yes, we are ready to rock and roll or something like that.
Or roll and rock. All right, you guys,
Roll and rock.
roll and rock. All right, a couple things before we get going. I just wanted to announce that Blair's got his Mind Model Mastery Secrets podcast, 2 episodes weekly, Monday and Thursday. They'll be dropping. Really great opportunity to get more insight onto what the mind models can do for you. And again, Thursdays, I believe, are dovetailing our conversation that we have here on the BDE. So make sure that you tune into those. You can go to youtube.com/@ Mind Model Mastery Secrets. Also available on Spotify and Apple. And right now, Blair is giving a free opportunity for a profiling session. You can do that by going to www.linkedin/in Blair Dunkley 1, and then just send Blair a message saying profile, and he can get you on the schedule so you can have an opportunity to get a profiling session, which is a really cool and awesome opportunity to have more insights into yourself from somebody who is trained in finding and listening to language patterns and gaps, things that may be going on for you that you may not be aware of. So definitely recommend that you take an opportunity to do that if you have not yet thus far. We are coming into episode 363 of the Blair Dunkley Experience, where we discuss mind models. And we'd like to welcome you to join us. If you're out there on YouTube, please make sure that you comment, like, and subscribe so you get notifications when we are live. And also make sure that you can go through and listen to the replay if you're not able to join us live and in person. So today we are going to be kicking off the 363rd episode of the Blair Dunkley Experience. And we're discussing mind models, which are a collection of extensively tested thought frameworks, skills, and behaviors that enable people to transform their lives intentionally. Your host for this evening is Blair Dunkley, the creator of Mind Models. And we are Tim and Becky Graff, your co-hosts and certified mind model coaches, along with the amazing Patty McClurg and Colin Jewett. The Blair Dunkley Experience is Blair's free gift to you, and it's an opportunity to learn, experience, and practice mind models in a safe, real-world environment. For Tim and I, mind models have impacted every part of our lives. In business, they've made us more effective and confident. In our marriage, they've helped us resolve an 8-year challenge in just a couple hours. And when we lost both of our young daughters in a tragic accident in 2020, these tools have given us the strength to navigate the grief, PTSD, and trauma, and the capacity to recover more quickly than we ever thought possible. Mind models have increased our effectiveness, our resilience, and ability to keep moving forward without traditional counseling. And with that, you guys, we welcome you to the BDE and look forward to learning with you tonight. With that, I will turn it over to you, Colin.
Well, and
Maybe Blair. He's
yeah,
pointing a
There.
finger.
All right.
just a quick note here. This is the last um, BDE of this year, as it were. Next, um, next week starts or marks the 7th year of me doing BDEs on Tuesdays. 7, if you add them all up and put them together, that's what it's actually. A little while ago, it was the 7th year actual, but this is total. This is going to be 364 episodes where you take 7 years, 52 weeks, and times that by 7 adds up to 364. So that's what it comes down to. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that. It's sort of a bit of a milestone.
Uh, not just a bit. It's a huge milestone with the level of value that you've poured into your community. Super grateful for your dedication to creating an opportunity and a space for us all to learn from your experience, wealth of knowledge, and to consistently work on ways to become more effective in our own worlds. So very
you.
cool. Thank you, Blair.
Thank you. Yep.
All right. Colin.
Yeah, Colin.
Yeah, well, with that, hello, friends. Good to see you all again. I was not here last week. You might have been here last week. I don't know. But we could kick it off with maybe some leftovers. Any new awarenesses, notices since last time?
I got to explain what a white hole was to somebody who was not familiar with mind models because they saw it. I was on a Zoom thing and they saw the episode from last week listed, up here that I have as my background.
Yep.
And so unfortunately they're in bed at this time because they live on the East Coast and they have to get up early for work, but they said it's very interesting. So the next step will be to send them the link to the YouTube channel and let them see on live what the Blair Dunkley experience is all about and what it might do for them.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yes, very cool. Send them to the free profiling session too. That'd probably help their brain a little bit. Good place
Yeah.
to start.
I've done a couple of those now.
Yeah?
Free profiling sessions. They're fun. I like
Anybody freak out?
No, but I've got a third person that's interested. Only thing she's a little skittish, I guess. Scared, concerned, whatever. guess she's got too many secrets.
It's part of the profile. You're
Yeah,
skittish.
no.
How'd you know?
I don't know. It's just, yeah, whatever it is.
Any
Okay.
other awarenesses, notices since last time before we jump into a brand new Y hole?
So I'm actually curious, Colin. I wasn't here last week either. Does anybody want to fill me in on their biggest takeaway? Brent, you're smiling. Would you do me the honor?
Oh,
Please?
Becky, I wasn't there either.
Oh, was anybody there?
Okay. Was anybody here? Patty, were you here?
Yes, I was here. I was here.
Well, I'm
And
just
Shannon's not on, but she was here.
okay. Well, I
And
was just
Shannon is on, but
I'm here. I'm here.
Shannon is here. Okay, someone please. No, I was just curious if somebody wouldn't mind giving just brief context as we're moving into what we're chatting about today, just for context. of it.
Becky wants a slice of that Y pie
I
we
would
talked
like-
about.
I would like to know what I missed out on so that I have context moving into this week's episode. Please. Anyone?
Oh goodness. This was
Go for it, Shannon.
I'll give it a stab. It's really fun for me to put all these mental pictures to everything, just because that's how things connect in my own brain. And I made a list at the end of the night. And these are just, like I said, some of the mental pictures that grabbed me. So the PTSD Y coaster. Oh, my handwriting. Hold on. The Y hamster wheel, the Y hole, the Y pie, and the Y hotel. And then I came up with another one this week, which is Y pie acid reflux. You can't get it out of your head, but you really need to let it go. So thinking about the different ways that Ys can magnetize us to them and how we can practice kind of repelling that a little bit, which is this week. But let me see. I don't know. It was really, for me, the biggest takeaway that I had was looking at both, like, for example, like if we're going to take the Y hole, like a black hole, that can come from inside of myself or from outside, so internal or external. And then looking at self-othering situation and applying the mind models that we know and talk about to things that are inflammatory in nature that may trigger us to become stuck or process information through the back of the brain, the emotional centers first, versus information first. And so different types of situations and different types of contexts, different types of triggers, internal, external situations and people and others, but navigating the giant sea of emotion-led first content and how that impacts us. And then finding a name and label to describe the stuck state that it induces that fits for what it is. So that was the whole, for me, that was kind of like an umbrella of things, because there are different kinds of triggers. There are obviously PTSD related triggers. I had one happen earlier this evening in an email. It was just incredibly inflammatory to me and tripped me up and started everything right here because I was really offended at how inaccurate everything was. And so the different, that was the conversation around that type of content and how we experience that in our everyday lives and where it comes from and how to navigate it.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing, Shannon. It gives me great context. And I think that segues nicely into where we're going with things tonight.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Shannon. And I know that nobody on this call has ever been in a Y hole before, so this might be a foreign concept. But we've probably all interacted with somebody in a Y hole at some point or another. I have developed some strategies, I've borrowed some mind models and found some things that are sometimes effective, but I'm curious, how have you figured out how to communicate effectively with a person in a Y hole? What has worked for you?
Did you ask anyone specific, or was that to the just
I was
everybody?
waiting to see whose mouth twitched, and Leslie's was the first, so I'll call out Leslie.
Busted. It's it's interesting because for myself, for all practical intents and purposes, I think I've pretty well eliminated using the word why
Hmm.
and trying to like I do intentionally stop myself with if it comes to mind and look for an alternative word. But your question was, how do I help others get out of a why? And that's a that's why I twitched, I guess, is because it's a difficult thing to do. It's um, because with one person I know, it happens quite often. They get into a why loop, a why hole,
Hmm.
and I don't have answers. In trying to break that cycle in this person, it's hard. It's difficult. It doesn't happen as often as what it used to, which is good. But yeah, it's
So it sounds like something has worked, something's changed.
yeah. But as to name and label it, I don't know.
He's getting Y repellent.
He's- That's really interesting, Leslie. So something has changed, something is working, uh, something has changed from before, but you haven't named and labeled it quite yet.
That's
So maybe
right.
there's an opportunity there potentially.
I hope so.
Shannon, did you want to jump in on this? How do you effectively communicate with someone in a Y hole?
My communicating with someone I'm still working on, but one of the best ways that I have had used on me and try to incorporate with other people is humor, is finding some sort of cue to the funny that you can do to just pull up and out of it quicker rather than not. But to actually like talk to somebody, this is one of the reasons I'm really interested in the content tonight, because most of the time I find myself ending up sitting and doing a lot of listening because I know there's so much in my head. I mean, in this community, we learn a lot of diagnostic skills. So in our heads, we can kind of listen to what people are saying, and we can, you know, make sense of it through our filter. But knowing what to say out your mouth to try and make a positive impact in the situation is not necessarily something that I feel super confident in being able to say, oh, I know what to do with this. I've had some success with matching intensity, and humor, and those are the only two that I could say, you know, in terms of recalling. But
So
yeah.
Y becomes sort of like a Y monster.
Mhm.
Is that a fair statement there?
Yes, absolutely.
And so hence the Y monster here, because it goes from tiny excuse to towering terror. You know, just add
Looking for
water.
any opportunity to share these images, aren't you?
I know. Exactly. So anyway, there we go. I only have one more and I'll get it out of my system. Okay, guys? So this is it. And then hey, there we go. The Y hole. So, and the Y hotel, Y hole hotel. Why not stay forever? Why bother? Why do any special packages? Why do anything? Why me? You know, it goes on and on. It's just hilarious. But humor is the one of the ways to be able to deal with these Y holes. Anyway. So there you go. That's I got that out and done. And people weren't here the last week, so they didn't get to see all of that.
It is effective though. Shannon, I was speaking to an ex, well, I guess not ex, special forces veteran the other day, and he brought that up actually, talking about when people are going through Hell Week and things like that and training, you can tell who's going to make it through. It's the people who are able to laugh in the midst of the chaos and find some morbid humor or whatever. Like it's kind of cliche at this point that people who work especially difficult jobs tend to have a very strong sense of humor. This is a very effective mechanism to prevent from spiraling. Just shift your state and laugh. Yeah. Any
Absolutely.
Well,
other? Yeah.
I just heard, this is an interrupt. It's off topic, but I wanted to let you know. I just heard from Christy. She and Shane are with one of their sons-in-law who got his foot and ankle run over by a skid steer. So they're in the ER tonight and they're not able to join us. So they're asking for prayers, just passing it on.
No kidding. Wow.
Thank you, Patty. Well, love goes out to them.
Yeah, moment of silence here. Sort of spontaneous.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Okay. Moving on.
So Blair, was wondering if you would mind chatting a little bit about the difference between, or I guess the effectiveness of interrupt.
Well,
Frozen.
sorry, she just froze. And
Oh.
you just froze. Sorry.
She was demonstrating a pattern in
The
her.
effectiveness of
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Hey.
So I think you ascertained from my question. Can you shed a little bit of light on the effectiveness of either attempting to interrupt somebody who's in a Y state? Because we can't always shift somebody, right? We only have the locus of control with what we're working with. But then also maybe to identify what's actually going on. Is it something that needs to be interrupted, or is it something that could maybe be handled a different way if it was a vent? Do you mind talking a little bit about that, please?
No, I don't mind. Thank you. There's sort of three states of change, I guess. One would be a need to interrupt and redirect. And that is just interrupting with almost whatever. Under certain circumstances, and you'll probably know it when you experience it, that the person is super stuck and they don't really want to be where they are, but they don't know how to get out. So those types of scenarios, interrupting actually is like you're saving the day for them. You're helping them by interrupting and redirecting. The second one is going to be, and by the way, you can do that a bunch of different ways. Humor has been brought up here already. You can also go serious, but on a different topic.
Can I add a little bit here?
Yeah, please go right ahead.
With that one, I've had a little bit of experience with that, with the tough love, if you will, with the interruption part of it. It is very situational.
Yes.
And you do have to be a bit careful about how you approach it. There have been times where I have approached a situation with humor, and they actually have been offended. The other person is offended because it's almost as if I'm making fun of their situation, what they're going through, where they're at. And so that approach didn't necessarily prove to be the most effective. Also, when you're
hold on 2 seconds. I wanna pause that one because I want to talk about two different things. Was that person wanting to shift or not?
likely not.
Exactly. And that's where people take offense.
Yeah.
So we have to, the assessment going ahead, like going forward, has to be a little clearer. And it's a risk either way. You don't know for a fact, and you're doing your best. And that's where I dive ahead, and I'd rather make a mistake and ask for forgiveness than not try.
Which kind of leads to the second point that I was going to make is approaching those with care and concern as well, because there have been
Yes.
times where I'm like, hold on 2 seconds, like stop, time out. And that abruptness as well has also kind of thrown them into almost a bigger spiral down the Y hole,
Yeah.
and actually sent them just flailing instead of actually bringing us in alignment and pausing an ineffective behavior. It almost sent it like skipping across the lake, so to speak. And so just want to share with the few times that I've experienced the interrupt and getting in there, those are just a couple things that I have personally noticed to be aware of.
I concur with that as well. That's how come on the interrupt, I go, you need to use the alignment process.
Mm-hmm.
And the alignment process, the first thing that you do with that is ask permission. And you go, do you mind if I ask you a question? And they'll say yes or no, or they'll keep talking. And this is really cool about the alignment process. When you ask the question, do you mind if I ask a question? And they say no, but they don't pause. They just keep going right at that time. It was actually, yes, they mind, and they're going to keep going anyway. And so it's a very, well, no, I shouldn't say very safe. It's a more predictable, safe transition, which is a non-transition, and they haven't gotten everything out that they need to get out. So when you let them go with that and do the run-on, that's where it becomes, they need to vent. And then they know, oh, Blair wanted to ask permission, was asking permission. I sort of said yes. They may or may not remember that even, and then you can try it a second time. Yeah, go for it, Shannon.
I was thinking too that the existing numbers you have in a risk, trust, honesty triangle plays a
Yes.
factor in how much, like, I know that there are certain things that my mom can say to me or any of you just because we have a practiced language. Like I can handle timeout from any one of you because I know what we're doing. Or I can handle a joke from my mom because I know, like, really, you know what I mean? Like, this is our life. She gets it. But from someone who doesn't have that particular foundation, you know, whatever numbers you have on the existing triangle is kind of what you get to play with.
Yeah.
And then how you interact
describe
builds
those
that.
numbers, Shannon. Describe the risk, trust, honesty triangle for those of who may be watching that have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a really great mind model. If you were to take an evaluative number on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 10, how high is the risk? And then pick that number. That's one side of your triangle. 1 to 10, how high is the trust involved? That's the second side of your triangle. And then 1 to 10, that's the honesty. Like how much honesty do you feel is present in this situation? So if you have like a 3 for your honesty and 9 for your risk and maybe a 4 for your trust, your triangle is a little lopsided and it may not be the most effective process forward. You might need to find some ways of bolstering trust and honesty before you can balance out how high the risk is. So it's an evaluative tool for situations and for people.
Exactly. And there is a actually, I'm going to bring up this whiteboard. I think this is the right one. Yeah, risk, trust, honesty.
Well, it's a great one for whiteboard.
Anyway, where did my markers go? Okay, whatever. Anyway, I brought it up, but this mumbo jumbo down here, I don't know exactly what that was about. But right here is honesty, risk, and trust. And when you take a look at those, it winds up giving you an area. And that area is, I'm going to actually just stop sharing that because that's more confusing than I thought it was. Sorry about that, guys. Is anybody seeing that? Are you guys seeing this?
Yeah, we
Yes.
see the
Oh,
whiteboard.
okay. Great. Well, anyway, I'm going to try and it's, whatever. It's still on there. How did I not
We
do
don't
that?
see it anymore, Blair.
Yeah, we're not.
Don't? Oh, good. Oh, good, 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 good. Okay, great. So anyway, risk, trust, honesty. The numbers that you happen to give, 4, 3, and 9, that those two lines, the 4 and 3, would fall flat on the 9. So there wouldn't even be a triangle. There would be no room for that. And you've collapsed the relationship in terms of risk, trust, and honesty. And the person who's thinking that they are being very honest is never perceived as being very honest. So that's going to be a collapsed risk, trust, honesty. And so when you're dealing with people in whys, they frequently have a collapse of risk, trust, honesty. Anyway, so somebody threw in the chat a risk, trust, honesty here. So thank you, Colin, for throwing that in quickly. So bottom line here is we have a bunch of mind models, quite a few of them. Things like risk, trust, honesty. We have things like the IBER, IBER, intention, behavior, result. And when people are going into their why hole, and you can ask them, what is it that you want to get out of this? And a lot of times they don't exactly know. And I go, that's where I go to the next question is, do you just want to vent or share this or let me know? What would you like from me? And that tends to help people get out of their past and into their present. Their why hole is 100% past based. So they're going to tell a story about all the damage, all the hurt, all the pain, all the fear, all whatever that generated that why hole for them. And so you have a scenario where you can sort of sit back and let it burn out by just finding out, do they need to talk themselves out of it or through it? But some people, it's a bottomless pit, and they don't get talked out of it. They talk for hours about it, and they're constantly blaming everybody else. That's where I start asking questions. And in that area, it's literally using, do you mind if I ask you a question? Part of the first question in the alignment process mind model. Okay. And that's where I start with that type of thing. Yeah, go ahead, Colin.
Yeah, Blair, I just wanted to share with the group, and this is something I was not employing as a strategy or doing intentionally, but over the past few months since losing my second son, I was and have been, continue to be much more in tune with my emotional state, much more just experiencing what's going on. And I found this to actually be a very natural and effective pattern interrupt to other people getting into why is as they would start storytelling, I would just be tuned into what I'm experiencing and with a lot of head-heart connection and just allowing whatever was here to just show in my body language. And I noticed several times it's happened where somebody's kind of telling a story and then they just stop because they'd be seeing sorrow or grief or something on my face, and it would just kind of shake them, and and they would respond to that. And it wasn't really intentional on my part, but by allowing my feelings to be seen and to just experience them and allow them to be visible, I think the effect that it had was bringing people to the present and getting more present to what they were feeling. A why hole tends to move people out of the present into the past, like Blair was saying, and actually get them
The other
away from
thing,
the
can
feeling.
I build on that slightly, Colin,
Yeah,
to you?
please.
So, does that move people when people are in their why hole? Is it their hole? Is it their hole? Like, in other words, are they going internal? Are
Yes,
they
they're going.
internal in their why hole?
Yes, internal. Yes.
Yeah. It's their internal perception, yet where is their perspective focus? On internally, on themselves, or does it tend to be everybody else?
It's in a story, which is it's not really them at that point.
And so therefore, does it tend to be, I always go simply like, which way is their finger pointing? Is it a lesson that I need to learn or a lesson that other people need to learn so my life is better?
Definitely the second one.
Yeah. But when
Yeah.
you become transparent with your own feelings, what you have done is you've transported somebody out of their internal hole of wherever they are to recognize that they're actually impacting you. And
Yeah.
that impact was probably unintentional.
Hmm.
And when they recognize the impact that they're having, all of a sudden, their finger that was pointing to everybody else, including you, to make their life better, actually goes back to them, flips around and points back to themselves. Because now they subconsciously, at least, if not consciously, recognize that they are impacting you.
Yeah.
And
I see this like it was interesting to watch. I've seen
yeah,
it many times now of this kind of shock to the present. It's like, oh, I kind of forgot I was talking to a human being. Like
yeah,
that, like
exactly.
that's what it looks like. And they're like, wait a minute, where am I?
Yeah, exactly. And that it's sort of it's almost like a head snap, but it's more like
Yes.
a snap, a heart snap that snaps their heart into the present, recognizing that they actually impacted a person.
Yeah, bucket of cold water.
Yeah.
But how much of that might be validating that what they're feeling is just and appropriate, and that's what they're looking for?
Very little of it in my estimation. Does it happen? Yes. Does it happen a lot? No. It's sort of like I would say it's 10% where they are shocked. The shock value of it is it was completely unanticipated. That only happens if their intention is to get under somebody else's skin with something. Then that's validation. Then I'm right. Now I'm building my mob, my people, and we're all going to go into this thing together. But if they didn't anticipate that they were going to cause somebody else grief or pain or hurt or something else, that shock factor actually does work. And because people rarely intentionally want to hurt somebody else. Like, are there people who want to hurt somebody else? Absolutely. But most of the time, they're not intending to. Especially in Colin's case, where he lost a son, it's a death. This is not something that can be come back from. And it's meaningful and it's deep. And they probably didn't know. And that's where it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And when they say that, I'm so sorry, they generally mean it. It's not lip service. Okay. So there are three basic ways. First way, anybody recall what the first way was that I told you? Go for it, Sharon.
The need to interrupt and redirect.
Correct. What's the second way?
No clue.
Okay.
I don't remember.
So anybody got an idea of what the second way is?
Do you want to vent, or what do you want me to do?
Correct. And that venting is important where you let people have control, but they now know that you're listening to them. Okay, that you are now acting as a sounding board. So they're not talking to space, they're talking to a human being. And that venting, especially when you say, would you like to vent? And they say yes. Then I usually ask, what do you want me to understand from this? What do you want? What's another way of saying this is, what's your point? But it's a nicer way of saying it so people don't feel offended. Okay. So what would you like me to understand? What's the thing you want me to get? And they go, wow, okay, he does want to understand. Because before I started doing that, I was sometimes accused of, well, you're just my coach and you have to understand me. And I go, no, what is it that you want me to understand so that I get it your way? Because I'll figure out my own way. But is any way just good enough for you, or do you want me to understand something specifically? And they go, 9 times out of 10, they'll say it's something specific. They've got a point to their story, to their pain. And it's usually pain or hurt or injustice or something along that line. Okay.
So
The
it's
third-
a judgment.
Yeah.
They're going to give you, or they may give you what their conclusion or judgment might be. I'm just thinking of not all stories are about pain or whatever. Sometimes
Correct.
they've made a judgment and they want somebody to know where they got to.
You got it. And you don't know unless you ask. Okay. And then the third one. Do they get themselves, can they get themselves to the present and out of their past? And that question that I ask is, after they've done their venting, where are you now? Where are you now? are you here with me right now? Have you shared everything you needed to share? Usually, yes. At that point, and it can take a while. It can take quite a bit of time. Sometimes like 3/4 of an hour, upwards to that for them just to get it all talked out. And that sometimes they have to come back for another dose of that because they didn't get everything and didn't comprehend that they're actually feeling understood. So that's an important part. And it's coming at it from a point of view with, like, from me, if I'm the listener, I want to approach this listening with care and concern for that individual.
Could it be that they might be looking for understanding and they themselves have not got there?
And most of the time that they have not got there is even with themselves.
Right.
Their self-understanding is not there.
So, I know that when I was going through my divorce, it took me a while for me first to process the pain. And as I acknowledged to myself, through time, and we're talking over several years, that that was part of my quote venting,
Yes.
was processing that pain, because I was not yet, even though I had been through loss before, I had not been through that deep of a loss and still did not understand it. So, but then years later, my understanding was, oh, here's what was really going on that I didn't understand then, but
Correct.
knew that it was not the place for me to be.
Right. Now,
And so,
one of
but
the
at
things,
that point, I had long since stopped venting, and it just
Right.
took that aha moment to be aware of what I had noticed but didn't comprehend and understand yet.
Yep. And one of the things that we can try and do is get people to peel the onion as a word. So when you go, like, sometimes it takes time, sometimes it takes questioning so that people can peel the onion and recognize what they thought it was on the top is not completely it. That's how come we wind up revisiting problems or pains or situations over and over and over again in our lives. Sometimes we just don't have the skills to cope with readdressing the problem. Sometimes we need, sorry, go ahead, Jane. You gotta hit your mic. Your mic is not on. Jane, yeah, thank you.
So as coaches, we try to help them to remember but not relive it and still be able to work on peeling the onion.
Yes, that's exactly true. And we do that through the whole, like, the three E's: risk, trust, honesty, self-other, situation. We try and get them working through that so people can start recognizing what they need and bringing them back to the present. And so, what did you learn from that? And where are you now? Those two questions I frequently pair. What did you get from that? What did you learn from that? What works for you there? And where are you now? How can you apply that in your life today? What's coming up for you? Where can you take this? Where can you go? And these are the same things that I do with me. You know, Lots of weird things that happen, and I don't know what happens, but this week has been a weird week where I've had cancellation after cancellation after cancellation after a packed week. Like on Monday, I had 5 meetings, 3 of them canceled.
Hmm.
And all 3 canceled within either a no-show, 2 no-shows and 1 cancellation, like within 2 minutes before I was supposed to start working with them. And then today, another literally actually 2 minutes after I was supposed to start working with one of my clients, a cancellation. I'm sorry, Blair, I forgot to tell you, but I'm sick. I need to go, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, stuff like that. So, it's like shit happens and you can't, it just is. And I don't know, I'm smiling and I find it humorous at this point because it's sort of funny. It's odd funny, but it's funny that this thing happens. It rarely happens in my life, but it happened so far 2 days in a row.
Hmm.
So there we go. And I was one of them where I screwed up. I forgot to bring keys to my storage locker, which I had a truck waiting for that was going to clean out my storage locker and everything else. And it's like a half-hour drive in one direction. Like dumb, dumb, dumb. Anyway, got it rescheduled in for next Thursday. Like not, well, 2 days. So it'll still work, but whatever.
I was going to say,
So
Blair,
may
must
I
be
interrupt
one of those
here?
weeks. Oh, go ahead, Penny.
Yeah, I'd like us, because the clock is winding down, I'd like us to talk a little bit about how do you perceive, how do you recognize, what do you look for to realize the why is happening in you or that you are being exposed to it in someone else? And then what do you do with the feelings that leaves you with or that gives you, especially when somebody's getting their why pie on you? What do you do with that sticky, sort of yucky feeling that goes on after that? So, is it a fire to put out or a fire to back away from? And we've talked about putting out the fire, but how do we recognize the fire to back away from? How do we recognize this is a place we don't necessarily want to go or join someone in?
Mm-hmm.
That's for you, Blair.
Oh, sorry. I thought you wanted to ask that of somebody else. Okay, how do you do that? You know what? I find it very easy to recognize when it's a fire that you back away from. Simply because whatever you ask doesn't work. Whatever you suggest, they keep going right through. They acknowledge and go, yes, that's right, and then they're back in their story. And then you try to do it again and again and again, and they just bring it back to their story, which is why everything is there, and you don't understand. And whenever you contribute to it, whatever it is that they are, even when you are agreeing with them, they'll disagree that you don't get it. I've been in one of those, and it's like it's a losing battle. No matter what you say or do, they're going to make you wrong. And that was awkward. Jane, did you have a comment here?
I was going to say, sometimes I just flat out say, do you want to feel differently or do you want to change? And depending on their answer, depends on what I do going forward. And if they say no, it's just like, okay, then I don't need to listen to it again and again and again because nothing's going to be different. But if they say, yes, I want to change, then we go forward. And then when it still doesn't change, I have to go back to, well, what is different? What's different today or what's the same? Sometimes recognizing what's the same is what helps them realize nothing's changed.
Right.
And then I ask the question again, do you want this to change? So sometimes just being straightforward. That's just me.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's fine to sort of wrap it up and say, do you want to talk about this to me at some other time? To give them distance and to give them time to percolate on it. That's one of the other things where you just get out of their way to let them burn it out. Yeah, Shannon.
I can see that more clearly in a coaching context. What about a personal relationship?
You know, one of the things that I wind up saying in that personal relationship is, I just need some time to process what you're telling me. Okay, Colin.
Yeah, I'd say this works in, or potentially works in both situations, but saying something like reacting just of like, wow, it seems like this is really fresh and real for you right now. Is talking about it with me, is this helpful? Is this helping you? And if they say yes, it's like, oh, well, great. Okay, like I'm here to, if it's helpful, wonderful.
Yeah.
But getting them to pause and evaluate for a moment if what they're doing is effective or not.
See,
Thank you,
that's a great little way of grabbing people and moving them to the present without overly attracting attention to the fact that they have to shift from their problem into the present. So that's a very effective tool to try. But it's when people are stuck in that and they're in the burn and they just don't want to have, they don't want to change. That's where I find it's sometimes necessary to just give them space to let them sort it out. And again, it seems like you need some space right now. Am I reading that right? And well, yes, I do. Like, you're obviously not understanding me. Or I've even done it, is I don't know what I need to do in order to understand you. Could you please let me know? And then sometimes they blow up at me and say, you're supposed to understand. Well, I don't understand everything, and I'm not a mind reader. So how can I help you? Well, you can't. So might it be okay if we park this temporarily and move forward at a different time? Or just do you want to keep on sharing what you're sharing with me? What's your choice? Six or pick. So, Patty, does that work for you?
It does. I wanted to comment that one of the things I've noticed in my interactions, it's almost that step before all the things that you're talking about, before the conversation actually takes place, that we sort of have a little, I don't know if it's energetic or what, but a little spidey sense that says something here isn't right.
Yep.
And it's sort of like smelling the smoke before the fire. You talk about letting the fire burn out, but sometimes you feel inside your body feels something from this other person. So it's like part of you clenches, or there's a startle response, or you freeze, or that something's coming at you that's triggering your own emotions to go whoosh. And when your own emotions are going whoosh, you can be really, really clear something is going on with the why concept. Is it going on in you, in somebody else? Are you being sucked into somebody else's why? What's going on for you? When you start to feel that emotional whoosh, like everybody's, I don't, maybe not everybody, but my brother used to love to hold bonfires, and he would pour gasoline all over them, and then he would stand back and lift, throw something in to light the bonfire, and it would go whoosh. I mean, you can hear it whoosh. And with emotions and our response to those, it's really very similar to that. We can feel it happening in us, and we might not even be in a place where we're processing words, but we're definitely processing feelings. And to name and label those, or even to ask yourself the question, okay, what am I feeling right now? Is this my problem? Is this their problem? Who owns this problem? And begin to sort of tease out like spaghetti. You're just kind of teasing it out, but you've got some signs so that you're not completely blindsided by what's going on. Um, the other thing I wanted to bring up, Colin, I wondered if you could talk about how emotions are so contagious. We had mentioned in prep the story of the CEO of the elevator, and emotions being so contagious, I believe requires that we have some skills to notice what's going on if we're going to navigate a really emotional world, and to realize the power of what's going on there. We don't have to be victims of other people's feelings. We don't have to be victims of our own feelings. We just need to know how to cope and manage our feelings and manage the people around us. So could you share that study or that experience? I think it came from a book.
Yeah, I think you're referencing, I don't think it was an actual study, but just this more of a parable or story
Or of an
illustrating the
anecdote, you
idea
think?
of, yeah, an anecdote of like when a CEO enters a building, they get into the elevator, and by the time they're up to their floor, their energy, their emotional state has already spread throughout the organization. Maybe someone in the elevator with them has kind of like, oh, they're feeling it. And when they walk out the door, maybe the receptionist sees their face, and then they're feeling it, and then they're sending a quick email like, "Hey, maybe cancel that meeting. I don't know if you want to be in here today." But emotions are a way to communicate much faster than speech. We literally communicate emotions at the speed of light. We see them on each other's faces, and light's pretty fast. And so, to your point, Patty, when you get those spidey senses, learning to tune into them, it's like you have this way of sensing somebody else's state at the speed of light before a word has left their mouth. And if you can start to tune into that, then you might be able to prepare. Is this a fire that I'm ready to handle? Or is my emotional state not one that I'm yet in control of and able to respond effectively?
The
just
other
wanna-
thing oh, go ahead, Becky.
Can I add one thing? So when we're talking about emotionals, like those social cues, there really is a causal effect. Have you guys ever been in a situation where you walk in and it's like, I just walked into something. You don't know what it is. You don't know what's going on, but all of a sudden you're like, there's a wall. There's like a wall going on. And so in that old saying, as you were talking, Colin, I was thinking about the gentleman in the elevator going up, like, okay, cancel all the meetings. This dude's not in a great place. If mom ain't happening, nobody happened. Like, I think our home environment provides a lot of this where we're interplaying so closely with other people or within social situations that, to your point, Patty, like being aware of ourselves and our own assessment to be able to kind of interface with what's going around us allows us to sidestep the potential potholes of other people's feelings and emotions. So self-other and situation. How are we managing ourselves as we engage with other people or within the situation? And the more in tune I think that we are with our own feelings and emotions, asking those questions of ourselves, like, where am I? What am I feeling? What am I noticing? It allows us to thin slice our experience with other people. So those emotion being social signals, they spread fast. I think that there's been talked about too, that the higher perceived, what's the word? Status or rapport, or however somebody sees another person, the mirror and matching happens faster. So if the CEO is angry, right? People who are within that space may adopt it faster. If the matriarch or the patriarch of the family is having a rough day, that cascade effects might happen faster. And so being aware of how and where we're holding ourselves within, again, self-other situation as equals, being able to set our own parameters, like our own boundaries, if you will, on how we're willing to engage, so that the fire doesn't spread.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anybody else have anything to add, or are we in a place to go to wrap up at the moment? So,
No,
yes,
that's okay. I was gonna just ask Leslie. So is this making sense to you? this stuff tonight for the Y hole and getting out of it, like Y
Yeah,
repellent?
yes, it is.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it is. It's I know we've talked about this previously. And no, I wasn't here last week either, but um tonight has yes, it has filled in some holes.
Good.
Um especially in how to move it forward.
Excellent. One of the major ways to deal with Ys is to pivot the question. Like if they're firing away with their why, especially to you, if you answer it with a what and make it present tense, frequently it will displace the why. It'll just create a different way of dealing with it so that all of a sudden their past gets pulled into the, or not pulled into, but gets replaced by the present of where they need to go to think. And that present thinking is a replacement for their why. Anyway, just wanted to fill you in with that.
Thank you.
Next week, we are going to go into techniques and processes for managing whys and sort of an inoculation process for working your way through them when they're from inside or outside of you. So we have much more information coming. This is really part one of this particular discussion. So we do have more next week. Tim, I wondered if you would like to invite our wrap-up question and do the wrap-up tonight.
Sure, be happy to. So, where we've been talking about whys and working with others when they are in a state of the why and they're going down the why hole, I want to pose the question and would like to hear as we go through the wrap up if each of us can share an effective communication that you had this week and what made it effective for you. So as we think about, the conversations and things that we've had, just again, sharing an effective communication that you had this week and what made it effective for you as we go through the wrap up. Because when we're talking about the whys, it can tend to get a little deep, and we want to focus and celebrate the wins that we have throughout the week. And so want to pose that question. And then of course, the 1 to 10 as we go through the wrap up, just the 1 to 10 on how you experienced the night. So if I may, can I start with you, Brent? Would you like to participate and wrap up?
Yes, yeah. I was thinking about the question here. What I did have, so with the question, effective communication and what made it effective was, so it was this, it it was to me it was like a venting situation, but it's gone consistently like the same thing, so it's not really venting, it's just like a complaining. So I asked a what question, well, what about that isn't effective? And they stopped and thought, and they didn't want to answer the question with it. They went back to it. So they ignored and then just kept going. And I asked another what questions, like again, the same thing, and they just left. So I was like, oh, okay, well, worked for me. So hopefully it worked for them. But
Why
in the moment
repellent?
it didn't continue, the complaining didn't continue, but so hopefully that got them thinking. Yeah. Yeah. So I found that interesting. So it does work, if they don't really want to. I didn't really ask like what they wanted to get out of it. It was just, ask the question and well, that was the response. Okay.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I like getting into like this, like the interrupts, digging into the parts of the interrupts and like how they're effective, the different pieces and what that might look like. So, and I got some of the questions written down, so I found that very effective for me. So yeah, I would give tonight an 8 for me. Yeah, pull it from.
Yeah, well, thank you, Brent. Appreciate that.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you.
And just to, if any of you need to refresh on the question, Becky did pop it in the chat as well. So you can kind of take a peek at that if you need to take a look at it again. Jane, would you like to participate and wrap up?
Yes, but I'm not ready.
Okay, I can come back. I'll come back. Shannon?
I could give you real quick ones that were ineffective. I'm trying so hard, but I'm like, okay, that one, nope, nope, nope. I really don't. Maybe I'll do my wrap up first, then maybe something will come to me.
Okay.
And I don't have an answer to the question, which is kind of hilarious. I really need one. Tonight was a 9 for me. I appreciated the bullet points and talking specifically about, is it a fire to put out or is it a fire to back away from? I actually really appreciate, I know this was a shorter part of it, but Blair, you were just able to like rattle off. It's really easy for you to see. And that's not something that's historically been easy for me to see. And when you, with such clarity and conciseness, were like, doop, 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 I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I do a lot of communicating in the past. I had done a lot with intuition, and that leaves you a little bit wrung out emotionally sometimes. And to be able to own this is actually a them problem, and it's okay for me to step back now.
Yes.
Like that, just the clarity and confidence that you rattled those points off with. And then the question you were saying, which way is the finger pointing? I could apply that to myself, ask myself that question when I'm all pissed off, or I could ask it of them when someone else is all pissed off.
Yep.
Like there's so many like really practical, the kinds of questions. I probably have like a dozen different questions written down, but the content of question related thinking, both last week and this week. While you were talking last week, Blair, you said something about literally just putting the word curiosity in their mind. I had several aha moments because I was thinking about that, and I've had some things that I've been really stuck on in my recovery that have been affecting my mental health, and it's been affecting more parts of my life. And as I'm trying to get ready to go back to work in the next 2 weeks, I'm like, I gotta figure out how to get my mind more clear so I can function well. And some of those, just dropping the word and noodling in the back of my mind, has brought so many aha moments that I am hoping, I can already tell they've helped, but I'm hoping in the next few weeks will really accelerate some parts of my recovery. But communication wise, specifically this week,
I've heard 2 of them already, just putting that out there.
well, that says a lot about my own ability to notice right now. I successfully communicated with my nephew today on a number of points, but that's not like redirecting when he was. Here's one I did that was really good. I mean, he's turning 3 next month, but it still counts. He was very much wanting to do something specific when he came in this morning, and we weren't able to do that. We had to wait until after lunch to do what he wanted to do. And it was one of the moment right before you melt down and hit the floor. And I had some bacon cooking on the stove, and I was like, would you like to eat some bacon with me? Totally different, he could smell it. And then he came up and was like, me have some toast too. And we moved on, and it was forgotten completely. So using like the senses, what do you smell? What do you want? Could we want to do this? And so, but what did you hear, Tim? Because I really don't, I just, like, I'm really curious about that. I didn't hear anything other than lots of self-recovered Y hole moments.
So just a couple things that I noticed listening to your share is that first of all, your awareness of the effective or ineffective conversations that you have or haven't had, that's a win. Just the awareness of so that you can move forward, and also the implanting of curious in your own mind to have those effective conversations with yourself and to shift your moving forward.
Okay, so talking to myself counts, not just talking to other people. I'm a person too.
You are.
I hope so.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay, no, that does really help because I've noticed, like, I've really just been noticing the times I've blown it. And I know we recover faster and we move on faster, but it's like, really? I should have avoided that one. So,
Yeah, but if you don't acknowledge what you're doing effectively, it's harder to stay in that win. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
No, this was really a lot of very bright and practical information. Like, it feels like it empowers me to be more self-confident with navigating these kinds of situations. Because once the emotions take over, it's very, very, very foggy and like smoky. And it's like, wait a second. And you're looking for something firm to hold on to. And actually being able to clear your vision, find the clarity and hold on to something strong, you can keep going. So yeah, this was really great. I'm excited for this series a lot, and I'm looking forward to next week. So thank you.
A 1 to 10 for you, Shannon?
9.
Oh, 9. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was really cool. I'm excited that somebody noticed something like that. What I was thinking.
Can I circle back to you, Jane? Okay.
Okay, so one of the things that I really like about this series that we've been getting is that in my notes, I like to have lists. And so having a list, 1, interrupt and redirect. 2, ask if you want to vent or what do you want me to do? Or 3, what did you learn from that? Where are you now? That's from my mental brain. Having that list is I think will be very effective. I've used the alignment and empathizing with people and trying to do the self-other situation, but I'm still yet to incorporate the interrupt and redirect effectively. I've used it occasionally since I've met Blair, but actually I should say in the last year. In fact, I can think of a couple of times where it was very effective with my husband because he tends to vent about work. And that's what the kids have learned to tune him out, but they don't want to. And so we've learned, we as a family, we take turns not realizing that's what we're doing is to do the interrupt and acknowledge to him that he's venting. And is that really what he needs right now? Or is he just in judgment and wants to justify that judgment? And I don't know if that's the most care and concern process, but it is something that we've done. And being able to step to where are you now rather than where is he mentally is I think is going to it's help is like, okay, we got step number 3 we can work on now. Okay, yay. So in that I'm going to give tonight a 9.5. In that I'm adding to my my knowledge base of where mind models are working in my life. And at the same time, I really like the format that you've put together for this. So as you can tell by me commenting, I'm not rattling as much. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but it makes sense to me. So anyway, thank you.
It does. And I love your awareness, Jane. Thank you for sharing. Leslie, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Certainly. Thank you. Effective communication in the last week. Well, we had had a request for a proposal from a gentleman that was working behind the scenes on a project that we did 10 years ago and is now an architect who is leading a project and wanted to use our services. So it was kind of intriguing to know how he has progressed in 10 years, but that he remembered what we did for them, for that team, that he was at the bottom of 10 years ago, and now he's at the top, but he wants to do the same thing again in using our services, but he wasn't asking the right questions. They were basically how much, and while using some humor, said $1 million. Said, but I don't think you'd be happy paying me that for what you would get. But so what do you want? And then leading them through the discussion, and there were many emails and other team members that were brought in that are now under him that will be working more with the data that we create, so, to get to a solution that is related to what he really needs. Unfortunately, it didn't add up to $1 million, but he's much more manageable. But we're both in a position where I know what they want and they know how much it's going to cost to get that, and we're just waiting for some, I guess, for the ducks to get in line, and it'll happen. At least that's the way I feel about it. So it's when that happens, of course, the whole process will have been very effective.
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah. I've got a 9.5 for tonight. Again, as I mentioned with Blair's question at the end there, this has helped fill in some of the holes on how to work with others stuck in a Y loop, in a Y hole, with the Y monster out front. And I love Shannon's word, noodling. I just love that word. So I'm going to noodle over this a lot more. And thank you.
Awesome.
It's a great evening.
Well, thank you, Leslie. Appreciate it. Colin, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Sure. Thanks, Tim. Solid 9 for me tonight. In the spirit of celebrating wins, defense against the. Sorry, Jane, I saw your comment. Where does the dark arts defense come in next week? Yes. Okay. Sorry. In spirit of celebrating wins, yeah. This week, as I was talking with Shannon and sharing that kind of interrupt, I reflected back on when it happened this week. I was speaking to someone who was very deep in reliving a recent stressful experience, and I mean, on her face, she was there, right? Eyes were wide, and she was reliving it, and I didn't do this strategically. It just kind of came out. So this was kind of, I'm now recognizing it in retrospect. It's like, oh, there's some unconscious competence. That's cool. Yay for that. Um, but I responded to her with very genuine and strong relief of like, wow, I'm so glad you're here right now and safe right here right now and not there anymore. It's just like, and she kind of snapped into the present and mirrored my relief. She's like, oh, yeah, what a relief. And just now reflecting on that, I was like, oh, wow, that was actually a really effective, like, bringing to the present. And I've just incorporated that language of right here, right now. Like, I say that kind of thing all the time, so it comes out very fluidly. And so, yeah, cool to recognize patterns changing over time and how they're working. So, yeah, 9 for me tonight, and a lot of tonight for me was just reinforcing things that are working to build upon.
Awesome. Thank you, Colin. Becky, would you like to share?
I would actually. So I love the question. Share an effective communication you had this week and what made it effective for you. And as you guys were sharing, I got thinking about, sometimes my communication this week has been effective by not saying a word at all, but utilizing body language. Because again, if we think about communication is not just what we say, it's how we show up, it's how we behave. And when we mirror and match, we can lead somebody from one state to another. It can be very empowering, at least for me, to be able to watch the shift. They have to say a word, right? Just the way of my being can sometimes be enough as they're venting and sharing to be able to help shift the state. And sometimes that's what's needed to be able to have an effective conversation. So I just wanted to bring that there, just because when we're saying communication, it's not always the verbal back and forth.
Yep.
Yeah. And for me this week, that's happened a couple times where it's just my way of being has been super effective. And what worked about it specifically for me is to be able to notice that I don't have to say anything. I don't have to get in there. I don't have to do any of that. I simply just need to assess and then follow and mirror and match for them. So again, being there for the other person, which is the win. What really worked for me tonight again, was the conversation about how to engage. Blair, I appreciate you talking about the if you ask if you can ask them a question and they say yes and then just keep on going, right? Flag number 1.
Yeah.
They're not done yet.
They're not there yet. Yep.
So again, it's attempting and it's testing without an attempt to prove a position on my part when working with another human being. This is about them. And again, you can't force anyone to do anything. You can invite them, you can encourage, you can create, ripple effect by your behavior. And that's something that really was a great reminder for me is I can only do me, and that's enough.
Yep.
So what did I give a number? 9.2 for me tonight.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Miss Patty, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Yes, I would. Thank you. I feel excited when I hear all the wins and the successful use of the mind models in everyone's life. We've invested in you and you've invested in you, and this is fruitful. I really want you to notice that the things you're doing, this is the fruit of your investment in learning these things. Blair's heart for all of this is so much about passing on these skills and wanting you to be able to use them in your own life effectively. And listening to your stories about effective communication, every single one of them is reflective of the reason that he does this, the reason my models were actually created to begin with. So I just want to notice that for all of you. This week I had, excuse me, thinking back into, I've been part of a couple really volatile venting sessions. And the thing that worked for me was processing those things as information. That instead of getting caught up into the emotion of it all, just in my head processing it as information and being able to remain, for the most part, I think, remain somewhat peaceful. Remain.
Oh, totally peaceful.
Shh, I wasn't going to tell.
I think it's obvious.
It's not obvious until you made it. So anyway, so external verification, yes, I did remain peaceful. So anyway, so that's what was effective for me this week. And excuse me. For me, it was a 9 tonight. Again, I love hearing, it's really effective for me to hear the various questions that people ask within situations. And Colin, I found your sharing about being transparent with your emotions and how that non-verbally shifted people. I found that to be really valuable. And the communication of emotions being at the speed of light. I also found, Blair, your ability to just ching off what to look for language-wise from the fire. It's like, okay, just bam, bam, bam. You listen for this, this, this. I'm like, whoa, that's so clear. I was excited by the clarity that offered. So that was my takeaway.
Good.
For tonight. I think I gave my number.
Yes.
So yeah, nice.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.
For me, tonight was a 9.5. I actually enjoy going through this series, and it's honestly been excellent timing. There's been let's just say there's been quite a few situations over the last 2 weeks that I found myself, and my win comes from, earlier it was put in the comments, for some people the verbal processing is important, especially if they are verbal processors. One of the things that I've learned about myself, and it's come with a long, hard, bumpy road, is that I'm a verbal processor. I find that, and at first I totally was judging myself and going down and making my why hole bigger and bigger and bigger and spiraling and like, crazy. One of the most effective things, and again, it came with time and learning, just the awareness that I'm a verbal processor. Part of my process of getting out of the why and working through the why is verbalizing it. I've got to, it's my way of externalizing it. I've got to get it out there. And then once it's out there, I can start working myself with the mind models. Okay, what might I do now? Where am I? And I can start going through the process of reeling myself back in. So when Blair was talking about the 3 steps, I find that I am very much that 3rd step. I'm that fire that has to, so to speak, burn it out until it's out of me. And then I can start dialing it back in with the mind models and working through the process. And for myself, over the last couple of weeks, it's noticing, having that awareness, first of all, has been very effective for me, that I'm a verbal processor, not judging it, just letting it out. But noticing that the effectiveness comes in when I start reeling myself back in and start asking the questions. And actually, one of the word inoculation has been tossed around. That actually came through this process. When we were prepping for next week, one of the questions is asked is, how do you work with it? And so the inoculation process kind of came out of my process of how I reel myself back in. And it's using the other question concepts outside of the why to kind of dial myself back in. And we'll go deeper into that next week, which I'm excited for. But yeah, that's one of the, when we think about effective communication, that's my win for this week. Is I found myself many moments going down the why hole, and just my awareness, not judging it, and then being able to use the mind models to reel myself back in and effectively move forward. So when you hear Becky's process, it's very much she's alluding to, she's noticing my process. And she used to jump in there and start asking questions, which usually sent my verbal externalization spiraling sometimes because I didn't get it out. And so she's finding that the most effective thing working with me is just to let me work through my process. And so we have kind of worked an effective process, if you will, together, but it's come with time. So that's my effective communication with myself. That's kind of my win and awareness over these last 2 weeks. And as I mentioned, tonight was a 9-5 for me. So this going through the why is great timing. So Blair, your wrap up, sir.
Okay. Well, for me, my effective communication happened, the one that, well, being transparent and acknowledging other people's effective communication and what makes their communication effective for me. So when I can share, I've actually had 3 occasions, 2 of them business and 1 of them personal, where by being transparent with what's working, it's leading to opportunity. All 3 of those. And acknowledging what I like and what I appreciate about others and what's working for them. And if I can, in 2 out of those 3, it was about profiling, like sharing in profiles to possible referees, people that will refer to business to me, other coaches, and creating potential opportunities. But one of them is just, being transparent in liking how somebody is communicating to me. As you guys know, I'm single, so I date. And one of them was somebody right before I got on here who broke down my language, and she shared assumptions about how she heard me. But those assumptions were very accurate. And I shared back that they were accurate. So she now knows they're not guesses. And that got into a quick exchange of stuff right there. And it's very positive type of effective communication. And just the risk, trust, honesty, they're just expressing that and being incredibly transparent with that's what I do. That's what I would like to do. And just that kind of stuff, just being straight up and honest with that. So it was highly effective. In fact, I'd say that one got me to the point of acknowledging to somebody who's never done that before in the 6 years I've been dating. So it's a unique experience for me. So that one, not tonight, but for that would be a 10 out of 10 experience of highly effective communication, which is delightful. We'll see where it goes from there. But that one snippet was definitely a 10 out of 10, which is very nice. So tonight for me overall, I think it's like a 9-5. I was pretty pleased, and thank you, Patty, Shannon, everybody who just said what they liked about me, Becky, like chunking things down and going tunk, 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 tunk. Like that's sort of how I simplify my life, is try to keep it simple and name and label it. That's it. So those are my steps. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Blair. All right. Well, with that,
All right, you guys. Thank you for spending the last 90 minutes with us as always. We get to go deep but there's so much more. So you guys, if you have not had an opportunity to get Blair's study guide, he's been able to put together a resource that allows you deeper insight into the topics that we talk about on the BDEs. You can get all historical and ongoing notes from 318 onward, and we are on 363. So there's a wealth there. $25 a month or $300 a year. You can go to blairdunkley.com/BDE Insider Notes and get your hands on that. Again, it's a great investment for your understanding and knowledge about what we talk about, because we cover a lot, but we can't cover everything that we prep because we follow the conversation where it goes. This is meant to be an experience. Mine also to be experienced so that you can find out how they might work for you in your own world. Again, additional resources in addition to the insider notes, Blair has the mind model minutes. You can get access to that. Also, he's got 2 books that are out, 3 books total, right, Blair? Or just the 2?
Right this second.
2 right this second. Ultimate Mind Hacking, and then also Phobia Freedom Formula. You can get those on Amazon. Googling Ultimate Mind Hacking and Phobia Freedom, which was the red one that Blair had held up. Those 2.
There you
right
go.
there. Definitely worth a read again. Blair has invested most of his life to creating these and refining them so that they can be utilized very quickly and efficiently in many various places, business, personal, okay, trauma recovery, etc. And so if you're wanting to become more effective in your own world, you want to learn how mind models can help speed up and enhance some things that you may be doing, or radically change the way that you're looking at your world through what lens, definitely recommend that you get your hands on the resources he has available. Again, Phobia Freedom, Ultimate Mind Hacking, and please join us next Tuesday. We are here every single Tuesday on the BDE, where we get to experience mind models at 7 p.m. Mountain, 9 p.m. Eastern. Looking forward to seeing you with us next week. And with that, have a wonderful rest of your evening. Again, plug next week. This week we've done part 1 of Countering the Dark Magic of Why, part 1. Next week, we're going to do part 2, where we're going to actually get into some formulas and some things that you can utilize and test out. So make sure you don't join us next week. With that, have a wonderful rest of your night or day, wherever it is you're tuning in from, and we'll catch you next time. We'll see you.